that.
Okay, all right.
That's the last thing we're going
Okay.
to talk about.
I think it makes sense because if I'm an applicant, I want to understand what, I want to understand what staff wants, but I also want to understand what the planning commission thinks about it. Sometimes those don't
And let
always
me
line.
add, if we decide, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, if we decide we want to use committees to look at complicated proposals like big PUDs, then, those are informal discussions and they should be able to talk with the members during that committee meeting and before the committee meeting and try to figure out, okay, what's going to be a reasonable compromise in order for me to get my proposal through.
And there's very basic items like combining agenda items that's considered a discussion before as well. So that would fall under that category as well, which is kind of crazy that we can have those discussions.
So again, this is a requirement for BZAs, it's not a requirement for planning commissions, so I don't think we should have it in our rules.
I agree. Okay.
Now we go to page
Page
10.
10.
And we get, and this tends to be a can of worms where we have all these different notice requirements and they're kind of confusing. The first thing that's confusing is we require publication in both Lebanon and the Zionsville papers, even though typically the site is only in the area served by one paper or the other. So I don't know why we require publication in the Zionsville paper when the premises that are at stake are out here in the area where the Lebanon paper.
Quite frankly, I don't know why we're naming the paper.
Many
and not
times,
just newsprint.
many times in other, we call it Carmel or Plainfield or the other Indianapolis Star is what we publish in. And there's not any issue with that. But I understand it's probably business to these.
Those are the only papers
Right.
that qualify under state law.
Why is
I get it, but if one of those were to go out of business for whatever reason, or one buys
Selling
out
paper that
another,
qualifies.
then by your own language now, you've created yourself an issue.
well, furthermore, why is government tied to a private entity in that matter?
Because that's the way the state legislature set it up over 100
So that's a
years ago.
requirement.
It is a
And
requirement.
they don't want to offend people that buy newsprint.
Well, and I can speak to this, it's difficult because I think the Zionsville Times only publishes twice a week or once a week or something like that.
Right.
So if we were to just say news publication, it wouldn't matter what paper. I mean, we're still going
Or
back to the
medium.
same ones.
Or medium.
Well, my thought is the staff should help them decide, all right, this is the proper paper for
Right.
you to publish
Yeah.
in. You're in the area served by the Lebanon paper, publish in that paper. Don't publish in the Zionsville paper. It's just extra cost and it doesn't do anybody any good.
Does said 100-plus-year-old law say specifically like a news agency or newspaper, or is it
It
just
says
a
a
media?
local newspaper,
Local circulated.
so it has to be one that circulates locally.
Well, I know what I'm writing my.
When you become a member of the state legislature, you can get that.
I know what I'm writing them about. That's
I would imagine it's
that's
really
ridiculous. I'll put that on the record. That's insane.
More newspapers.
But
I'm okay with
what
that.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I think it's crazy that state commitment's in place, but you got to do what you got to do. So
And we've never required it. When we initiated the UDO, we didn't require that, we published newspaper ads for that, but we should put that in our rules that we're not going to require a newspaper, a notification by mail to everybody in the community when we're amending the UDO, because that's crazy. I mean, technically it applies to everybody in the community, but it'd be way too expensive
And this
to
is
the-
send
yeah.
mail notice to everybody that lives here.
we live it in the digital age now. So I'd say if you can't,
Well, and these are published online as well.
right?
Digital.
So that's
And we have those changes
Yeah.
like right now.
yeah.
State law does not require us to put it on the internet, but we do, and I don't see any reason why we have to put that in our rules. I think we're going to continue to
Yep.
do that.
Okay.
The next one is interested parties, and we've had this come up several times about what does it mean, 2 parcels deep, or within 600 feet. And I think we need to clarify, all right, it has to meet both of those. So if it's more than 600 feet away, you don't have to give them notice.
So I ran into this on the New Hope project
Yeah,
because I notified about everybody in Anson.
yeah.
But I don't think that was necessary. Is that what we're
No.
suggesting here? Because I've always seen it as 2 properties deep. The
Two
third
properties
property deep, you
deep.
don't have to go.
The
and
third
notify.
property deep, you don't have to go, and if the second parcel is more than 600 feet, you don't have to go to that either. Typically, the second parcel will be within 600 feet.
So do we usually get public complaints that go against this? I feel like or is it I feel like we have sometimes where they're within 2 parcels, but in this case, it would be, they also have to be within 600 feet.
Well,
Yes.
what often happens is if you're out on the agricultural fringe, you might be the next property deep, but you're 1,200 feet away, so you
Sure.
don't get noticed.
Okay, and this would,
Nope, you would not be noticed based on this.
You wouldn't be noticed
Because you're more than
unless
600
you're
feet away.
both within 600
This-
feet, and you're the first or second parcel.
This is what it is everywhere, I will tell you, in
Okay.
Central.
And then further, and then we go to the next paragraph, notification by sign. On a rezoning, we think that a sign should be placed. Do we have that sign here?
I haven't, we have an older sign. Do you want me to grab that?
Can we get it so everybody?
Can you grab one of those, Carla?
It's about this big.
Are we just doing that for a rezone, or are we also gonna do that for new development?
What I've suggested is doing it for
Just for rezone,
rezone.
okay.
okay.
Now, members, you can talk about whether you want to require it for all proposals, but I think the main ones are those that have to go to the town council, which are rezonings.
Yeah.
It would be required at that point that the plan commission makes the recommendation, or the
So-
point where it's presented to the plan
So
staff.
what would happen is if you, a part of the TAC filing submittal checklist, you would have a specific date and time, it's usually a week ahead of time, where you need to prove, oftentimes we'll go post a sign, take a picture of it for our records to save us, or make us have a record.
CYA.
Yeah, and then we send it in that way. And frankly, if we want to have more public engagement, I'd like to have a little bit more public engagement. And the
Yeah.
fact that we're a growing community and there's a lot of things going on, I don't see any problem with requiring it for both rezones and development plans.
Here she comes. I meant to ask her to bring it earlier and I
So
overlooked it.
It gives a,
Indy Pro made that sign. We're gonna change it just a little bit and get rid of the digital code at the bottom. It'll probably, I've talked about maybe doing a link to our website. That way they can just go online and pull up a staff report. That way it encourages them to kind of look on there and see more about what the plan commission is doing and what else might be on the agenda. But
Those of you who are on the BZA, I would recommend that we do it for variances in front of the BZA, but not for special exceptions. Special exception is already zoned
Yeah.
correctly.
I just speak for myself, but I'd say for rezones and development or concept plans, all the above. But
Well, you can make it as broad as you want it to be, but I definitely think we should be doing it for rezoning.
I guess what's the benefit and what's the cost to the town for, I mean, there's not much of a difference, right? I mean, if it were all concept plans, that's still not much.
Do we know how much this costs?
no.
you just keep, do you keep 20 of these back there and just give it to the
This kind of got started 2 years ago, I think. We honestly, I think we have like 5 or 6, and I believe that Lauren went out and just kind of put them. It didn't really last for a long time. John and I were just kind of discussing it when we met up. And I think we kind of said it's either something that we can give to the developer, and the developer's responsible for going and putting it on the site. They could do, like you said, send a picture in, or I drive around town a lot just checking developments, so it's something that I can go and verify to make sure it's up.
Or at the very least, is that a fee that we could ask for from the petitioner? That's, I mean, it would be a very small fee to be able to,
We can add an additional fee, or we can tell them they have to buy the sign.
I keep saying this, but just because I do a lot of work on the west side of town.
sure.
What oftentimes will happen over there is they have a provision that says every 200 feet along the frontage, or every 500 feet, I can't remember what it is, a sign will be posted. And it's usually it's literally an 8.5 by 11. But they can print it themselves, they stick it on the back of a piece of cardboard. Most architects out there have those signs similar to that where they just tape on whatever it is. I think it does give the public, I drive through Carmel all the time, there are signs like that all over the place. It does give people that maybe don't go on the website every month looking what's coming, the ability to see that there's something coming, maybe I want to go check it out.
Yep.
If we want to be, in my opinion, if we want to be get people more engaged with their community, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
We
I
kind
would
of-
agree with them making it the concept plans as well.
Yeah, we discussed a little bit too. I mean, that's one of the things where, I mean, if you bring the sign back, I mean, we'll purchase them if you don't bring the sign back, fail to bring the sign back, there's
This-
a fee or.
Yeah, you're denied.
This is a potential marketing opportunity as well for the town. I think of, for the residents that don't understand the process, if you had a short URL, a very easy short URL, because that's, not many people understand that nowadays, but a short URL where people go to that says, here's the rules of engagement, here's what's being proposed, here's everything you need, come prepared, like, welcome that conversation. I feel like that would be a huge step.
It's their job to take the initiative, but at least we're showing them.
Exactly, here's everything you need to go to, instead of having to, because I'll be the first to admit, looking through the town site for documents is a royal pain sometimes.
Well, we talked about just having, I mean, just the basic link on there that'll direct them to like whitestown.in.gov dash and then Plan Commission or whatever our URL is, that'll take them to the Plan Commission page. And then on there, I mean, I know that Dax and Tanya have worked really hard to make it a lot easier, but they could click on agendas, meeting
Yep.
documents. So as long as it takes them to
the
the Plan
initial-
Commission page,
yeah.
I think that'll, I mean, they should be able to figure it out from there.
I would agree.
I just want to clarify. So on the development plans, are we still talking about mailing them a
There's
notice?
just two different things.
Or we're talking about this? Okay.
Both. Yeah. So
No,
if you were,
it
Notification
doesn't-
by sign
Doesn't
section.
relieve them from having to give notice to the neighbors.
through mail, through certified mail.
Okay.
It's
So we're
in addition
limiting.
to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on
So
top.
we're not saying we need to be notifying everyone.
Now, you will send out
anytime there's a
mailings.
concept.
Mailings will go to the immediate residents, notified parties.
Right.
This is for, I'm driving across town and I want to know what's going on.
Okay.
The signage
We got
part.
that, who you were talking about.
Section,
Why, yeah,
section
I
five.
Out for like concept.
No,
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no.
30 Britney.
No, no,
And
no,
I
no.
thought,
Right.
yeah, that's gonna be a lot of work.
No, I'm just talking about that's for
The
the general
sign.
public to understand what's
Right.
going on. You're going to get noticed
Yep.
yourself.
So would you say just, I mean, development plan and rezone? I think that would,
I mean, do you have hesitation about concept plans too? Because sometimes I think if a concept plan comes forward, that forms what goes into a development plan. If people don't speak into a concept plan hearing, then they miss the boat a little bit when it comes to the development plan. And most of the time, quite frankly,
It's
concept and
together,
development are
right?
together. So I'd ask concept development and rezone.
okay.
I would agree.
Don't let me steer this
okay
ship if
with
you
that?
disagree, but yeah.
So
I mean, is that
who's going to be
Workload wise.
responsible to post these and retrieve these?
That's one of the things we were talking about. That
I
could
would
be
like the developer.
the developer, that would be something where they would have to obtain the sign from,
I do it everywhere I do it, chief. That's,
Yeah,
you have to.
Here's the problem that I see if you have the developer do it. He's gonna put it up and then it's gonna stay up until it blows down or somebody runs over it as part of the construction work.
Well, it's only,
It's
up
never-
for about a week.
Huh?
It's only up for about a week before.
Yeah,
the
he's gonna
meeting.
put it up, he's not gonna take it down. I mean,
that's when I said that
it's just gonna-
there,
they're just
I
gonna
mean,
be
we
out
could
there.
do where there's a fee associated with it if they don't return the sign, and it's something that, I mean, like I said, I drive around all the time, where it's something that if they, I mean, I can stop and pick it up when Carla and I go and look at the development
I mean,
and
I-
look at the sites, or they can be a
In
fee.
Plainfield, it's the applicant's responsibility.
I think
and
it would probably work
Yeah, that's
better
an
for
idea.
her office to get them up and get them back down, because we see this a lot throughout the summer months, especially whether it's yard signs for, we're doing a garage sale, or we're
it's
doing
political
this or that,
season.
and you go back 3 months later, and it's sun bleached, but it's still hanging there. And then it becomes a problem for the street department people to have to go along through these accesses and clean those things out. So, I like the idea. I think it's great that they can just scan the barcode and it'll take them right to whatever it is that's happening. But I think it's something that if we're going to put them out there, we need to retrieve them.
I mean, how many applications do we get in a month? 1 to 8.
I I mean, yeah, it could be.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure that, that's
We can-
administrative function.
yeah,
I
that's-
think we can figure that, we'll get that.
All right, section 7.
Anyway, you like adding the sign.
I do.
And then, I mean, it's kind of a trade-off. They only have to publish in one newspaper, but they gotta also put up a sign now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we would go to page 12, and we have provisions for committees, which we don't currently have in our rules. And under state law, we can have an executive committee. My suggestion is we just have 3 members, the president, vice president, and an at-large member. And the advantage when you have this is when you need to have, you're kind of in a rush to get something accomplished, you can have a meeting scheduled for just your executive committee, those 3 persons, when they can get together, and they can do something on behalf of the Plan Commission. You don't have to have a special meeting with all 7 of them. And then study committees, we've had study committees before, but we have to kind of create a whole special rule every time we do it. And this just says that we can have a study committee with members of the commission, plus members of the town council if we want to do that. And then items go to the study committee, and then they come back within 3 or 4 months or less if they're done with it in a shorter time. And it just provides a framework here for us to do this sort of thing if we decide we want to do it.
Okay. I would agree with that.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Then the next one is, it is fairly lengthy stuff, but it's all drawn from the state's open door law, which all we have in our rules now is it says we shall comply with the open door law, but we don't give all the details on it. And I think it's a good educational thing for our members to see, these are the things that I have to do to comply with the open door law, and these are things I cannot do because I would be violating the open door law. If you have 4 of you go out to lunch and you talk about business, that violates the open door law. 3 of you can go because it's not a quorum.
Right.
And you also can't do these electronic communications. You can't blast out email to all 6 other members and say, I think we ought to do this and such. That violates it because you're conducting business outside of the public eye.
Yep.
You can talk to 2 or 3, and that's it.
Or like the plan,
Or
yeah,
one
the
at
plan
a
staff
time.
or.
And what I always suggest, if you want to talk to so-and-so about an item before the Plan Commission, just do it for that one person. Don't send it to copies to the other members.
Could you say just always direct it, well, I guess that would be 4, direct it to the executive committee, but that would be 4 people then. That'd be 1 too many. Never mind. Sorry.
And the other thing where this is starting to come up, and we haven't had any case law on it yet, but where I haven't seen any of you do it, but I have seen other plan commissions do it where they're actually on their phone during a meeting, and they're sending a text to another member at the other end of the table, talking to them about something that's pending at the meeting. And I think that really is going to be smacked down at some point by the courts, because it's talking about public business during a meeting, but you're doing it secretly, and that's really not appropriate.
Sure.
And that's not in the rule, but I'm just warning you, at some point it will probably be in the case law, so don't ever think about doing that during a public meeting. It just looks bad in the first place. You're sending text messages during a public meeting.
I mean, I know we've all been on our phones before, obviously, not saying that we've done that, but it's usually been because of, I know the last one was a particular pain point for a lot of our residents. I heard a lot of complaints about that, but I also stated in the meeting that we were having technical issues and we could view the detailed information through our email. But I mean, I agree that could be you can encrypt everything and all that good stuff, but
I mean,
say
it's
let
just not-
let that
it's
go.
just not a good
It's
look
an-
at
yeah.
any level, so.
Yeah. People need to get with with technology as well, so.
And then the last one is suspending of the rules, and again, this is just my recommendation that if we have all 7 members, we should take a 2/3 vote, which would be 5 of you. Once we have a 7-member, again, if there are only 6 of you here, it should take 4, which obviously it would anyway in order for it to pass. But that's again what I typically see around the state, is that it takes 2/3 vote to suspend the rules.
So you recommend we think this over for the next month? and-
Yeah, I'm not asking you to pass these tonight, and we're gonna make some tweaks based on the discussion we had here on the notices, and then we'll send them out to you before the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you for working on this.
Yeah,
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
I'll definitely read over that last part. That's in regards to communications. Okay, looks like we don't have any other announcements, so we will go ahead and adjourn at 7:27 p.m. Thank you.
When I was going through the neighborhood one, and I was trying to be more detailed,
I think Lauren was, hey Craig, can you sign this?
there was I think I was looking at the app.
Past tonight.
I think I was looking at the application, and I think the wording of our actual application guidelines isn't consistent with what that. Like one says uses and the other says or it actually makes a really big difference.
It was a little confusing.
Nailing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I ended up noticing like 150 people,
Okay.
and I kind of wish I would.
Yeah, I'll look at
Very
that and make
confusing.
sure that it's accurate.
And when you asked that, I literally just said,